When Jesse Cole took the stage at the Grow Retreat in 2020, I had no idea what an impact that man would have on me. One of the most obvious ways that people realize that that man has had a major impact on me is the fact that I've got a copy of a quote from him on the cover of my book. He's got the yellow tux, and the reason I have and am vocal with the violin like I am is because he taught me it's okay to own that. I may not be the best violinist out there, but I can have fun with it and apply it to what we do, and that makes it super effective. But one of the most important things that Jesse taught me is that it's not necessarily about the tuxedo, it's not necessarily about the violin. In fact, finding what is your yellow tux goes a lot deeper about that. It is about alignment. It is about bringing out the best version of you and then finding a way to physically represent that to the world. Ever since I started using the violin, similar to how Jesse uses the yellow tux, I've had quite a few people ask, like, how do I find my version of this stuff? So here's the 3 questions that I've walked them through, and I'm gonna walk you through so you can hopefully find your yellow tux / violin or whatever it is that works for you. Question number 1, what is your differentiator? So while that is the question that we wanna identify ultimately, where I wanna start you with here is I want you to actually ask yourself, what is it that frustrates me about my industry? When I look at my industry, what are the things that I know frustrate everyone else, but definitely frustrate me too, and I wish I could change? And then I want you to think about, for just a second, what is the one thing that you consistently say that no one else is saying? And I want you to be really hard on yourself with this one here. Now, usually I don't advocate for you to be hard on yourself because I usually think we're hard enough on ourselves, but I really want you to push yourself here because a lot of times when I get the answers to this one, what I get from people are the same things a lot of other people are saying. So I want you to think about, like, what are some of the things you say that maybe few people say? Start there, and then start going through that list and start to narrow it down to, like, what is the thing that you really say that really no one else really hits on? For example, there's a lot of things that I say and teach around marketing that are similar to what a lot of other people in my industry do as well. As a marketing speaker, as a trainer, as a consultant, I have a lot of things that I have learned from other people, things that I've learned through doing that just, they're kind of standard for the industry. But there is an element at play that really isn't across the board for my industry, and that is this element of really understanding the neuroscience and how things are impacting the brain, and particularly, let's be honest, the ADHD brain to a large degree. So if I had to ask, like, what is my differentiator? What is the thing that I really talk about that I don't know of anyone else out there talking about this in my industry? It is that neuroscience and, like, brain-based focused marketing. The second question we need to answer is, what are you best at? Now, again, this may not be the easiest thing to answer right off the bat. In fact, finding your yellow tux may not be very easy at all. I was a little bit lucky in that I landed on the violin, and then I realized I had found the perfect thing that exemplified all of the pieces of what I talk about, but it took me a while to connect all those dots there. And most of the people that I've spoken with have not been able to find what their differentiator is and then connected the dots. They've had to connect the dots and then find something to represent that. So I want you to get some clarity on, like, what are you best at? And it may not always be the obvious skills. Sometimes it's how you do something that you are truly the best at that way of doing something. So for example, when I teach marketing and in my marketing, I really focus on creativity over consistency or compliance for marketing systems. I believe in a very similar way to Jesse that if you can get creative and get attention, you're gonna do a lot better than if you just have, like, a marketing plan. So what is it that you are best at? For me, it's that creative marketing side. Now, there are other people out there who do creative marketing. They may not call it creative marketing, right? But there's other people who do, like, let's get creative with your marketing. So that's great. Maybe that's not my differentiator, but that really is what I am absolutely best at. So now the last thing we need to answer in order to find your yellow tux or violin is, if you had to pick a physical representation of those two things, what would it look like? Now, this may be something that already exists in your life. Like, before I started integrating the violin, I was already learning to play the violin. It was already a thing I did quite a bit of. Jesse already used the yellow tux quite a bit. So it probably exists at least a little bit in your life. But I want you to think about, like, what is the physical representation of these two things? For me, when I started to realize, like, the violin is creativity, and the violin is also a lot of math and neuroscience, and the impact it has. Listening to live violin music is huge. Like, we can make a huge difference in how people approach a topic based on how I represent it on the violin. Like, for me, I realized that it was a big, like, thing that I could use that would get attention very quickly, because it was something I already had in my life. It was a hobby I already had. But now I use it pretty much every time I get on stage, like, to present workshops and keynotes, because it is either a great opener or a great closer to help bring everyone together. So looking at your two things, What exists in your life? What is a good physical, maybe this is a piece of clothing you wear. Maybe it's a pin that you get everywhere. I know a guy who is the blue shirt guy. Like, that's great. Like, find something that is your thing that does represent what it is that are your two pieces. Jesse has a couple quotes that he has said repeatedly. One of them is that whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And if you want to get attention, you have to stand out. If you want your marketing to stick for people, start looking at what is your version of the yellow tux or the violin. If you want to stand out, start standing on who you truly are. If you know someone who's been trying to find their yellow tux or just trying to find out how to represent themselves better for their brand, go ahead and send them this video and maybe it can help them out. And I bet you two could even brainstorm together on that last step, because let's be fair, that last step is pretty darn hard, but it's not impossible to find. And when you do find it, the reward is incredible.